Hey guys, this lab builds up on the previous video in which we took a look at HSRP on the 192.168.10.0 segment. In this particular one, our focus is going to be on the other segment, which is this guy over here, 192.168.20.0 segment. I'm going to run VRRP between R4 and R5 on the other segment. I'm going to use PC3 to point to the virtual IP as the default gateway. So this PC, my test will be to be able to go there through the active router. I want router 4 again to be the active preferred router. The active router actually now is not going to be called the active router, it's going to be called the master because I'm going to do VRRP. So that's what the objective of this particular video is. The overview, VRRP, a quick review and some new stuff, configuration commands, and the actual lab. So VRRP again is the open standard protocol for FHRP. It is a group of routers that will act as a group, a logical group for the forwarding or redundancy of your routers for the default gateway for your PCs. In this particular router, one of the routers will be known as, not as the active router, I'll call it the master router. Okay. In terms of VRRP, it will provide redundancy by sharing the same virtual IP and MAC address, just like I did with HSRP. That concept is the same. What are the differences so far? Number one, this is open standard. Number two was the terminology. It's called a master, not an active router. The other thing that is also different is that you can have a master and multiple what? Backup routers. The backup technology or terminology is also backup. The two protocol consists of a virtual MAC and an IP that is shared between the two or more routers in this group. Okay. Again, just like HSRP, the default priority is still 100. Higher the better. And if you want one router to be preferred, you increase the priority over here. The range again is between 1 through 255. There is one difference over here though. If you guys remember in HSRP, preemption had to be enabled. Disabled by default. Here, preemption is enabled. So you don't need to enable it, it's enabled by default. All right. Once the master router is elected, it will respond to the ARP request for the Vrrp exactly the same. Now the interval changes from 3 seconds and 10 seconds to 1 second and 3 seconds. 1 for hellos and 3 for the dead time. All right. Configuration commands, slight difference, but not that big of a deal. If you take a look at it, in this example, I'm going to the other interface. This is my individual IP. But then what do I do over here? Same concept, pick a group number that needs to match, IP address, common IP, okay, priority higher. What's the difference though? It seems exactly the same. The command is not standby, it's called VRRP. The other thing that you'll notice is missing is the preemption. Why? It's on by default. Preemption is enabled by default for VRRP, don't need it. 20.1 is a Vrrp, 10 is the standby group. Priority command allows you to change the default priority, which was exactly the same way that I did for HSRP. Now that we've done that, let's take a look at the lab requirements. Configure a VRP group 5 between R4 and R5 on the 192.168.20 network. R4 should be the preferred master router. In case it goes down, R5 should become the master router. When R4 comes back up, it should force an election, which is on by default. That's the preemption. Configure a default gateway on PC3 pointing towards the Vrrp. So my Vrrp, I'm going to set it up as, let's say 20.1 between these two guys. His IP I've configured as 51, but I don't have a default gateway, so I need to change it to point to 20.1 as my default gateway. Before doing that, let's set up VRRP between 4 and 5 on the E01 interface. So picking it up from where I left off, first things first, assign the IP address on E01. That's the inside interface. 192.168.20.4, again the individual IP. before I do anything else, let's go to 5 and also configure its individual IP on this segment. Should be able to ping each other. .10.4, 10.51. 10.51 is my PC. That's this PC. As I said, I've given an IP address of 51. You can check that out as well. I'll bring it up. See there, 192.168.20.51. So over here, I should also be able to ping now at this point 20.4 and 20.5, the actual individual IPs of the two routers. At this point, I'm not pinging the VIP yet. The VIP is going to be configured in the next segment over here. So the VIP I'm going to say is Vrrp 5, IP is 192.168.20.1, let's say. Vrrp 5, priority, I want this guy to win. Vrrp preemption, I don't need. This is good enough. Do show Vrrp, and you'll notice state is master, preemption is enabled, priority is this guy, interval is 1, and your downtime is 3.5 seconds, to be honest with you. So this is your down interval, not 3.5, but that's roughly the same. Priority is 105. So all the different things that I talked about, including the MAC address. Is that the MAC address of my interface? I don't think so. This is the MAC address that is actually burnt in onto the NIC, but the MAC address that Vrrp is using is again the virtual MAC address that I talked about. All right, what do I need to do on the other router? Vrrp, same number, same IP, the shared IP, 20.1. Now I'm going to go into speak and I'll become the backup. So show Vrrp, my state is the backup state, the virtual IP is 20.1, the master router is 20.4, the actual IP, his priority is 105, my priority is the default of 100. Same type of things that I had done for HSRP, very subtle difference over here, as I said. Good? Clear? Now the last thing that I need to do, go to my PC. If you look at your config, I don't have a default gateway over here. At 20.51, no default gateway. That's where I'm going to go in and configure my default gateway over here. Normal configuration, I can do it through DHCP, but that's my next set of labs. I'll show you how to make a router into a DHCP server. Here I'm going to do it manually. Go to the interface IP address of my Windows PC and set it up. Set it up for the virtual IP as my default gateway, 20.1. Click OK. OK, close, whatever you recommend, I don't care. Now let's ping 192.168.20.1, pingable, that's your virtual IP. Ping 192.168.10.1, which is the IP address of R1. So I can go all the way to R1 right now through my active router. So what is happening right now on this topology that I have made into a working config is this over here. I am running Vrrp between 4 and 5 using .1 as the VIP, and PC3 is using him as the default gateway. The virtual IP here is 20.1. Now at the same time, on the other segment, which is the outside segment, I've done the same thing over here. I'm running HSRP over here, and because this is .1, I couldn't use .1 as the address. I used .2 as the address between R4 and R5 on this segment. So I'm running HSRP on the outside, Vrrp on the inside. What I just did in terms of the ping, I made a successful ping. I tested a successful ping which went through here, so this guy came back. So now my HSRP as well as Vrrp are working on the same segment. The next thing I want to do is, you guys see these two PCs over here, I want them to get IP addresses from R2. I'm going to configure R2 as a DHCP server to give out IP addresses. But before we do that, we'll take a look at what a DHCP server is. We'll talk about that, and then we'll do the implementation of DHCP. Do join us for that video. Thanks for watching.